Hey everyone, in this particular audio series we'll be covering Spectrum, Modern India, and the first chapter is Sources and Approaches. Chapter 1, Sources for the History of Modern India. An abundance of historical material is available for studying India from the mid 18th century to the mid 20th century. In constructing the history of modern India, priority needs to be given to archives. Archives refers to a collection of historical records and documents, usually primary source documents, that is, those documents that have been created as a necessary part of some activity, administrative, legal, social, or commercial. They are unique or original documents, not consciously written or created to convey information to future generation. An important part of archives relating to modern India are the official records, that is, the papers of government agencies at various levels. The records of East India Company provide a detailed account of trading conditions during the period of 1600 to 1857. When the British Crown took over the administration, it also kept a large variety and volume of official records. These records help historians to trace very important developments stage by stage and follow the process of decision making and psychology of the policymakers. The records of the other European East India companies, the Portuguese, Dutch and French, are also useful for constructing the history of 17th and 18th centuries. They are primarily important for the point of view of economic history, but much can be gathered from them about the political setup as well. There are also many contemporary and semi-contemporary works such as memoirs, biographies and travel accounts, which give us interesting as well as useful glimpses into the history of 18th and early 19th centuries. Newspapers and journals made their appearance in the later part of the 18th century, and they provide very valuable information on almost all aspects of Indian society, especially in the 19th and 20th centuries. Other sources of modern Indian history includes oral evidence, creative literature and painting. Next heading, archival materials. There are 4 categories of official records, that is, central government archives, state government archives, record of intermediate and subordinate authorities, and 4th being the judicial records. Apart from these, there are private archives and archival sources available abroad. Central Government Archives. The National Archives of India, located in New Delhi, contains most of the archives of the Government of India. These provide authentic and reliable source materials on varied aspects of modern Indian history. The records with National Archives come under various groups representing different branches of Secretariat at different stages of its development. This happened as the work of the East India Company was distributed among various branches, public or general, revenue, political, military, secret, commercial, judicial, education, etc., and a separate set of records was kept for each of these branches or departments. With the appointment of James Rennell as the first Surveyor General of Bengal in 1767, the Survey of India began to scientifically map the unknown regions of the country and its bordering lands. The records of the Survey of India, as well as the journals and memoirs of the surveyors, provide valuable information not only on geographical matters but also on contemporary socio-economic conditions and other important historical aspects. The proceedings of the public, judicial and legislative departments provide ample data for studying the social and religious policies of the colonial government. The government's policy on education and the growth of the education system during the colonial rule are mentioned in the educational records of the Central Archives. The papers bearing on the emergence of international movement were part of public series of Home Department records, but in 1907, a new series of records, Home Political, was started to deal exclusively with political and communal issues. The records of Reforms Office are also very useful for analytical study of the constitutional development from 1920 to 1937. Archives of the state government. The source material in the state archives comprise the records of the former British Indian provinces, second being the erstwhile princely states, which were incorporated in the Indian Union after 1947, the third being the foreign administrations other than those of the British. Apart from these, the records of those Indian powers which were taken over by the British, for instance, the archives of Kingdom of Lahore, popularly known as Khalsa Darbar, records from 1800 to 1849 are important source material. Okay. Another important collection of the pre-British public archives in India is the Peshawar Daftar, housed in the Alienation Office, Pune. It forms the most valuable in a single source of the study of Maratha history for the period of almost a century before the fall of Peshwas. For studying the History of princely states of Rajasthan, that is Jaipur, Bikaner, Jodhpur, Rudapur, etc. The archives of the states now housed in Rajasthan State Archives in Bikaner are valuable. Similarly, the history of Dogra rule from 1846 in Jammu and Kashmir can be studied in the valuable collection of state papers housed at Jammu. The other significant archives of the princely states are those of Gwalior, Indore, Bhopal and Rewa, all in Madhya Pradesh, Travancore and Kochi in Kerala, Mysore in Karnataka and Kolhapur in Maharashtra. Archives of three presidencies. The early records of Fort William, that is Bengal Presidency, were lost during the sack of Calcutta in 1756. But the archives of the Bengal Presidency after the British victory at Plassey have survived more or less in complete series, which are partly available in National Archives of India and partly in State Archives of West Bengal. The records of the Madras Presidency begin from AD 1670 and include records of the governor and council of Fort St. George. In these records, there is a plenty of information bearing on the rise of English East India Company as a political power in the south and in the Deccan, including the Anglo-French struggle and the English conflicts with other Indian powers. The archives of Bombay Presidency housed in Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, Mumbai are extremely useful in studying the history of Western India, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Sindh and Kannada speaking districts of the erstwhile Bombay Presidency, which were incorporated in Mysore in 1956. Archives of other European powers. The archives related to Portuguese preserved in Goa, mainly belonging to a period from 1700 to 1900, are valuable for the history of Portuguese possessions in India. The orders and dispatches from Lisbon received in Goa and responses and reports dispatched from India to Portugal constitute the most significant historical material among the Portuguese archives. The Dutch records of Cochin and Malabar near are in Madras Record Office and those of Chinsura in the State Archives of West Bengal. The French archives of Chandranagore and Pondicherry, now Puducherry, were taken to Paris by the French authorities before they relinquished their settlements. The archives of the Danish possessions were also transferred to Copenhagen when the Danes sold Tranquebar and Serampore to East India Company in 1845. The remaining Danish records, mainly relating to Tranquebar 1777 to 1845, are now housed in the Madras Record Office. Next comes the judicial records. Housed in the Madras Records Office, the archives of the Mayor Court at Fort St. George beginning from AD 1689 are the earliest available judicial archives. The pre-Plassey records of the Mayor's Court at Fort William have been lost, but those for the years 1757 to 1773 are kept in the record room of Calcutta High Court along with the archives of the Supreme Court of Bengal, that is from 1774 to 1861. Similarly, the records of Mayor's Court at Bombay established in 1728 are available in Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, which also has the custody of archives of Bombay Recorders Court and the Supreme Court. Apart from containing the proceedings and minutes, this category of records contain copies of wills, probates and letters of administrations which are useful for genealogical studies and for investigations pertaining to the state of society and economic conditions in the respective regions. Then next comes the published archives. The most significant archival publications are the parliamentary papers, which include many excerpts from the records of East India Company and the Government of India and the Crown. The reports of the parliamentary select committees at various royal commissions constituted on specific subjects like education, civil reforms and farm mines, and the parliamentary debates on Indian empires are indispensable. The proceedings of India and provincial legislatures, the weekly gazettes published by central and provincial governments, and collections of law and regulations issued from time to time also serve as useful source material for historical research. Next comes the private archives. Private archives comprise papers and documents of individuals and families of note who played a significant role in the development of modern India. The paper of eminent leaders of the nationalist movement and the records of organizations like Indian National Congress are housed in the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in New Delhi. The archives of banks, business houses and chamber of commerce are extremely helpful in the study of economic changes. Next comes the foreign repositories. A vast body of historical material related to history of modern India is available in the repositories of erstwhile imperial powers who ruled in different parts of Indian subcontinent as well as in some other countries. In England, the India Office Records, London, and the record kept in British Museum are very valuable. The India Office Record possesses various important documents, the minutes of courts of directors and the General Court of East India Company and various committees constituted from time to time, the minutes and correspondence of Board of Control or Board of Commissions for the Affairs of India and the records of the Secretary of State and the Indian Council. The British Museum possesses collections of papers of British Viceroys, Secretaries of State and other high-ranked civil and military officials who were posted in India. The archives of Missionary Society, for instance, of the Church Missionary Society of London, provide insights into educational and social development of pre-independent India. The Archive National Paris, the archives of French Ministries of Foreign Affairs, colonies and wars have records that throw light on the history of French possessions as well as socio-political conditions. The records of the Dutch East India Company is available in Rijksarchief, The Hague, and that of the Danish and Portuguese are kept in the Copenhagen and Lisbon respectively. Apart from the archives of the European nations, the archives preserved in Pakistan are of utmost importance. The West Pakistan Record Office, Lahore, Record Office, Peshawar, records available in Sindh, etc. give information about the regional history of Indian subcontinent. Besides shedding light on Indian relations with Afghanistan, Iran and our neighboring countries in the colonial era. Biographies, memoirs and travel accounts. Many travelers, traders, missionaries and civil servants who came to India have left account of their experience and their impressions of various parts of India. An important group among these writers was the missionaries who wrote to encourage their respective societies to send more missionaries to India for the purpose of evangelizing its inhabitants. In this genre, Bishop Heber's Journal and Abbe Dubois' Hindu Manners and Customs provide useful information on socio-economic life of India during the period of decline in the Indian powers, during the period of decline of Indian powers and the rise of British. Some of the famous British travelers who travel accounts were George Foster, Benjamin Heine, James Burniss, narrative of a visit to court of Scinde, Alexander Burniss travelled into Bokhara, C.J.C. Davidson, Diary of Travels and Adventures in Upper India, and John Butler, Travels and Adventure in the province of Assam. Famous non-British travellers who wrote about India include Victor Janquemont, Letters from India describing a journey in the British dominions of India, Tibet, Lahore and Kashmir during the years 1828, 1829 and 1831. Byron Charles, Travels in Kashmir and Punjab, and William Moorcroft. These travel accounts are indispensable and generally a reliable source for constructing the history of modern India, especially as they supplement the official papers. Newspapers and journals. Newspapers and journals of the 19th and 20th century, published in English and as well as in different vernacular language, form an important and authentic source of information for the construction of history of modern India. The first attempts to publish newspapers in India were made by the distinguished employees of the East India Company, who sought to expose the malpractices of private trade. For instance, in 1776, William Bowles, being censured by the Court of Directors for private trading, resigned from the company and announced his intention to publish a newspaper. The official response to Bowles' scheme was strong and his plan ended before materializing. In 1780, James August Hickey published the first newspaper in India, entitled the Bengal Gazette or Calcutta General Advertiser. Hickey's press was seized within 2 years, owing to outspoken criticism of government officials. Afterwards, many publications appeared, such as the Calcutta Gazette 1784 and the Madras Courier 1788 and the Bombay Herald 1789. The newspapers and journals of the early period primarily aimed at catering to an intellectual entertainment of the European and Anglo-Indians. From the second half of the 19th century, many powerful newspapers appeared, edited, published by distinguished and fearless journalists. Interestingly, nearly one-third of the founding fathers of the Indian National Congress in 1885 were journalists. Some of their publications were The Hindu, the Swadeshamitran, and the editorship of G. Subramanya Iyer, Kesari and Maratha under Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bengali under Surendranath Banerjee, Amrit Bazar Patrika under Sisir Kumar Ghosh, Motilal Ghosh, Sudarak under Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Indian Mirror under N.N. Sen, Voice of India under Dadabhai Naoroji, Hindustan and Advocate under G.P. Verma, The Tribune and Akbar-i-Ain in Punjab, Indu Prakash, Dhyan Prakash, Kal and Gujarati in Bombay, Som Prakash, Bangani Vasi and Sadharani in Bengal. where other noted newspapers of the time. Indian nationalists and revolutionaries living abroad published newspapers and journals. Indian Sociologist, London, by Shyamji Krishnavarma, Bande Mataram, Paris, Madam Kama, Talwar, Berlin, Virendranath Chattopadhyay, and Ghadar, San Francisco, Lala Hardayal, to infuse a feeling of nationalism among Indians living abroad. Newspaper depicts almost all aspects of life in colonial India from around 1870 onwards. From 1920s onwards, the newspaper tracked the major events during the freedom struggle. However, newspaper accounts cannot be seen as unprejudiced completely objective. The accounts that were published in a newspaper in London by the pro-British Raj people were bound to be different from the reports of the Indian nationalist paper. Oral evidence. Oral history refers to the construction of history with the help of non-written sources, for instance, personal reminiscence. Oral sources allows historians to broaden the boundaries of the discipline and corroborate their findings from other sources of history. However, many historians remain skeptical of the variety of oral history. Next being the creative literature. The most significant outcome of the Indo-European contact was literary genre of novel, which emerged in the later half of the 19th century. The first important writer of that period was the Bengali novelist Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, 1838 to 1894. His novels are mostly historical, the best known among them being Anand Math, 1882, noted for its powerful lyric Vande Mataram and depiction of a sannyasi revolt, 1760s. His last novel, Rajasimha, can be called the grand finale to the remarkable career. Incharam Suryaram Desai, 1853 to 1912, was a fine scholar of medieval Gujarati literature history. His first novel, Hind Ane Britannia, was one of the earliest Indian novels with political overtones. Tamil writers like Girija Devi and Ramatira Tamal, who wrote Mohana Rajani in 1931 and Daisi Kalin Mosavalai 1936 respectively, also made the novel an effective vehicle of social experience. G.V. Krishna Rao's Keelu Bommalu, The Puppets, in 1956 in Telugu was concerned with the moral aspects and behaviors of rural people. Vaiko Muhammad Bashir, 1910 to 1994, was one of the eminent writers in Malayalam, whose famous novel Baila Kalasaki, The Childhood Friends, 1944, was a tragic tale of love. Similarly, Thakazi Shiva Shankara Pillai became prominent of his two extremely well-written works in Malayalam, Tottiyude Makkam, Son of Scavenger, 1948, and Chimeen Shrimps, that is 1956. Despite having different educational backgrounds and social outlook, all these writers shared a strong sense of realism and deep interest in life of marginalized and oppressed sections of the society. These novels gives a picture of the social milieu of the days they relate to. Next comes the paintings. Some information on the socio-economic, political and cultural life during the colonial period can be obtained from the paintings of the period. The company paintings, also referred to as Patnakalam, emerged under the patronage of the East India Company. They picturize the people and scenes as they existed at the times. Trades, festivals, dances and the attires of people are visible in these works. Company paintings continue to be popular in the 19th century until the introduction of photography in India in the 1840s. The pictorial image produced by the British and the Indian paintings, pencil drawings, etching, posters, cartoons and bazaar prints are especially important records of the Great Revolt of 1857. The British pictures offer images that were meant to provoke a range of different emotions and reactions. Some of them commemorate the British heroes who saved the English and repressed the rebels. Relief of Lucknow, painted by Thomas Jones Barker in 1859, is one such example. Another painting of this period is Memoriam by Joseph Noel Paton, recorded in painting 2 years of revolt of 1857. One can see English women and children huddled in a circle, looking helpless and innocent, seemingly waiting for the inevitable dishonor, violence and death. These paintings of mutiny period are important for the historian to interpret and understand the world views of the British and the Indian regarding this major event. Kalighat painting that came to a fore in Calcutta in 19th century depicted not only the mythological figures but also ordinary people engaged in their everyday lives. The later pictures capture the social changes taking place in Calcutta of the time. These paintings made a comment on the social evils of the time. Some of these paintings satirize certain modes adopted by people of the time. In the last decade of the 19th century, a new art movement emerged which received its primary stimulus from the growing nationalism in India. Artists like Nandalal Bose and Raja Ravi Verma were representative of this new trend in the rise of Bengal school led by Abindranath Tagore, nephew of Rabindranath Tagore. E.B. Havell, who joined the art school in Calcutta as principal, and Ananda Kentish Kumaraswamy, son of important Tamil political leader in Sri Lanka, played a vital role, though many of the paintings of this new trend primarily focused on themes of Indian mythology and cultural heritage. They are important sources of studying the modern art movement in India for the art historians. And next, coming to the summary part. Sources of modern history. Archival material consists of public, private and foreign repositories. Public archives include archives of Government of India, archives of state government, archives of 3 presidencies of Bengal, Madras and Bombay, and judicial records. Next comes the private archives, papers and documents of individuals and families of note who played a significant role in the development of modern India. Next comes the foreign repositories, Indian office records in London, Record Office in Lahore, etc. Biographies and memoirs, accounts of travelers, traders, missionaries and civil servants during the 18th and 19th centuries, as well as the memoirs written by Indian leaders during the independence movement. Newspapers and journals published in India as well as abroad. Others include oral traditions, creative literature and painting. That's it.